I have generated over 100,000 clicks in the last 6 months without adding posts. So that means the whole traffic that I got in the last 6 months is due to the fact that I am constantly monitoring and updating my articles by using 2 automations. And the first automation is used to analyze the performance of my website so that I know exactly if I lost traffic or if a given website got more traffic than before. But nevertheless, there are always pages that definitely lost performance over time. And I usually find them if I go to performance by pages. And by the way, this whole report is also generated by an N8n workflow. And I will also put the link to this workflow as well as to the video into the description and also highlight it right now. And let's say I saw that I lost some traffic. So for instance, here around this time, I had a peak and then it went down in the following days by more than 50%. So that was the point where I knew I have to optimize my articles again. And then I went into this report, checked the performance by pages, checked here for low performer as well as the ones who lost visibility. For instance, here we can see the low performer. And here I lost roughly 47% and clicks, here over 30% and so on. And then I know exactly which URLs do I have to optimize. And that's the part where this workflow, so the AI SEO team, will do the optimization for me in this part. So as you can see, we have quite a lot of AI agents, which are specifically designed for specific tasks. For instance, for SERP analysis, keyword insights, FAQs and related search analysis, and so on. And the final output is at the end a Google Doc document. And to show you 2 examples, because this workflow is also able to optimize any article and any language. And this is one report which I have generated based on my landing page. So this page was the input, and this is the final output which we get from the workflow. So as you can see, it starts with an index and page speed analysis. So this workflow also uses the Page Speed Insights API as well as the Inspect URL API from the Google Search Console. And as you can see, the performance for mobile, desktop is definitely good enough. So the most important key metrics are fast or at least in the average. So that means for me, I don't have to optimize this page in a technical view. The next chapter includes an article analysis. So it starts with the title analysis, meta description analysis, headings, content, first 100 words, as well as the last 100 words. And the complete analysis is also based on real data. So whenever there's a recommendation, it's not just because it might sound good, because it also takes data from my Google Search Console. Or let's say in other words, I have activated the bulk export to get the data from the Google Search Console into a big query table, which allow me to execute some SQL queries to identify the base performance, keyword performance, and so forth. And then in the next step, we will have a SERP analysis, which is this part here on the top. So we will get SERP results for mobile, desktop, related searches, FAQs, and we will also have a in-depth analysis of every competitors that are ranking for a given keyword in the top results. And the output looks like this. It starts as well with a title analysis by the top performing results. Then it will analyze the snippets. And then it will do a guess on what might be the focus keyword for the pages. It will analyze long tail keywords and also an n-gram analysis for every competitor. And then it will merge the data and will give you the most common words that are used across all the top results. In the next chapter, we have a keyword analysis. This is a part where we analyze the performance by using BigQuery. As you can see, here's not a lot of data, but I will also show you another example where this part is more comprehensive. And then also followed by recommendations, which are again based on the data that has been provided to the AI agents. And now comes, in my opinion, the most important part. It's the optimization of the article. So in terms of the title and meta description. So here are a few examples on what other alternatives you can use to update this article. So as you can see here, 5 titles, 5 meta descriptions, but this is also configurable in the workflow itself. And then we have also the part on how to optimize it in terms of updating the content itself. So for instance, here I could use the sentence, copy it, go to the page, search for it. And as you can see here, this one is right under my title. And the recommendation would be here, hey, the current sentences is this one. And you could optimize it or replace it with this one, because this incorporates also keywords we already rank for. So again, based on the data from the Google Search Console. And since my landing page for this website is not getting a lot of traffic and there's also not a lot of content, this part is quite short. But to give you also another example, I have used this automation also for another website, which is primarily in German. And for information, I have anonymized the article. So the structure is the same as from the real one, but the data isn't. And as you can see, it also starts again with the index and performance analysis based on the index status and page speed metrics. So here we can see the last time it has been crawled by Google was on the 17th of June, and the status was successful. And here again, performance metrics for desktop and mobile, as well as a short summary. And then the same structure, article analysis, SERP analysis, keyword analysis, title and meta description. This is an article with roughly 1500 words, and I have added to the prompt that the agent who's responsible for the optimization of the content should rewrite in at least every paragraph one sentence. And as you can already see, here are the recommendations, more comprehensive in comparison to the other report, which was based on my landing page for my website Mathematic. So now let's talk about the automation itself. So as you can see, this workflow is separated in different parts. It starts with the workflow preparation, where we get the BigQuery table names, some metadata about the articles, and we will also create a spreadsheet for the competitor analysis, as well as for the part where we check the performance of the article. Then we have the SERP analysis, which is responsible for analyzing the top results for a given focus keyword, also based on a country. And there's also a part which we can see here. So analyze competitors. This one is quite important because we are assuming that the page who's ranking in the top results has already done a good keyword research, and whatever they are doing it right, which is for us an indicator that it might make sense to analyze the content, do an n-gram analysis, and find across all the top results the most common keywords, because these are keywords which will also help us to improve our rankings over time. So if we check it in short, what happens is we are using SERPer. We get the mobile and desktop results, then we parse the data, extract related searches, extract the FAQs. We also save this data into a spreadsheet, and then we do the analysis of the competitors. So we get the top results for mobile, desktop. Then I have set a limit, which can be found here. So in this case, we get the top 3 results organic, so nothing paid or anything else, really pages that are ranking on these positions organically. And then we do the same for desktop. We merge the pages because it's also possible that a website who's ranking in the top results for a keyword does it for mobile as well as for desktop, but it's not always the case. Then we get the pages, remove duplicates. And here's another limit, which I like to use for testing, because as you can see in the next step, we are looping through every page, and then we are getting the content by using qualifier I, extract the most important information, and then pass it to OpenAI, which will do the n-gram analysis for us. And as you can see, I'm using the GPT-4 Omni Mini model, which is quite cheap. So even if I analyze 10 results, it does not cost a lot of money. But in case you want to replace this model with another model, which might be more expensive, then it makes always sense to add some limits, because otherwise it might be possible that you use more tokens than you would like. And after the analysis, we will save this data also on a spreadsheet. So this is the part where we get some external data, which will be useful for our AI agents in the next step. But before we will pass the data to the team, which will optimize the article, we will also do the check if the page is indexed and also the page speed. So the index check is important because if a page is not indexed, then it also won't drive any traffic. And if a page is performing in terms of speed really poor, especially for mobile, then it's also an indicator which needs to be optimized, because if your page is ranking in the top results and someone clicks on it, but they have to wait like 5 seconds, then most likely they will leave the page again, which is a really bad sign for Google. And in most cases, they are going to put you on a worse position than before. And once we did these checks, we also get the data and save it as well to a spreadsheet. And another really important thing, in order to get some results which are also useful and not some generic AI generated examples on how to improve it, we need to analyze the performance of the given page based on the time period. So for instance here, if we have a look into the node for base performance, then we have here an array with a single element, which is for the landing page. And I have set the date range in this case to, let me check, 21 days. So we are comparing the last 3 weeks with the 3 weeks prior to that. And in the last 3 weeks, I got 48 clicks, and the previous date range 95. So I lost definitely visibility in this period. Then we do an analysis of the position distribution by keywords. And as you can see here, we don't have a lot of data because my landing page isn't targeting a lot of keywords except my own brand name. But if you would use this optimization, as I showed here in another example, for an article which gets or got in the last period more impression clicks and is also ranking for more queries, then you will have in this key top queries a string which will be separated by a comma. And the first part is always the keyword. And then in the parentheses, we have the position. So in this case, my website, Marvomatic, is ranking for the keyword Marvomatic on the top result of Google. And this data is quite important because it helps us to figure out which keywords are considered as low-hanging fruits because we are already ranking for these keywords at a decent position. And I made the experience, if you're ranking for keywords already in the top 15 or top 10 in Google and you take this keyword, add it in a good way to your article, then most likely we'll also be able to rank for this keyword on the top results in Google. So the next step is to analyze the query opportunities as well as the target keyword performance. So as an example here, this node will check the performance for keywords that you're trying to rank for as well. So next to the focus keyword, we have also target keywords, which are separated by a comma. And if you're ranking for these keywords, then you will find them in this node with data like clicks, impressions, position, as well as the date, which will also be important for the SEO team because so whenever they're updating the content, they should keep in mind that our focus is always to rank for the keywords which I mentioned here. So of course the focus keyword and also our target keywords. And once the performance analysis done, then the complete data will also be saved into a spreadsheet. And then the final step before we'll pass the complete data to the SEO team is to analyze the article or page which we want to optimize. So here we get the content of the URL, which is in this case my landing page. And then we extract the most important data from the article. So things like title, content, and also description. And this is also the reason why this workflow is able to give you examples like this. So this is the part which is exactly like this in the page. And here's the recommendation to replace it with this one or this one. And once the preparation part is done, we will merge the complete data here. And as you can see, we have data for related searches, FAQs. So in this case, it's empty because there are no related search to FAQs for my brand name yet. But if we would do an optimization for like top tools for project management, then there will be definitely related searches and FAQs. Then we have the base performance, position distribution, the article, and workflow input data like the target keywords, focus keywords, country, language, because as I said, this workflow is also able to optimize any article in any language, and also the index and page speed data. Before we'll have a look into the agent itself, it's important to understand that the whole workflow is again categorized in different parts. It starts with the translation. So I have set here the prompts for every agent. So the system prompt as well as the instructions, which is the user prompt. And before we will start any data analysis or content optimization, the first part is to translate all these prompts into our target language. And as you can see here, I have set something for the SERP analysis, n8n analysis, also for the agent which will do the keyword performance analysis, and so forth. And once we have the translation of the user prompts and system prompts, we will start with the data analysis, because if we don't provide meaningful data or data which is really related to our article, then the content optimization is kind of bad, so not really useful at all. And the first agents are responsible for the SERP analysis. So here I'm using GPT-4 Mini because it's a little bit better than GPT-4 Omni Mini and tool calling. It's not perfect, but it's still cheap and it does the job. And for instance, here the output would be an analysis of the titles of the competitors, snippets, focus keyword, long tail keywords, as well as the n8n analysis. And another thing before we will have a look into the other agents is really important, and it's the structured output parser. So as you can see, every agent has an own structured output parser, which is really important if we want to get something that is reliable, because I made the experience that if you're working with agents or in general with large language models and you have, for instance, a prompt, it does not mean that this prompt returns always the same results or also structure, which might be one of the reasons why something will break. To give you an example, to make it a little bit more clear, let's imagine you want to analyze data, and the next agent will get structured data like this, and you want to analyze the title analysis, so this key, and if this key does not exist, then the output will be garbage or the workflow will break. And that is the reason why every agent has its own structured output parser with a predefined structure, which I did manually. And I also tried it before without, but it didn't work at all. So sometimes it worked, but the majority of the optimizations failed because the output of the large language models was always different than before. So let's come back to the agents. We've talked about the SERP analysis, and then we have also an agent which will do the analysis for the FAQs and related searches. This one is responsible for analyzing the performance, and it will generate data like primary keywords, secondary keywords, keywords that should be included in the titles, as well as keywords which should be mentioned in the FAQs. The next agent does an analysis of the keyword performance for our tracked keywords. So it will check the position of them in the past, as well as clicks, impressions, and other metrics, and will give you recommendations if it makes sense to really try to rank for the keywords that you are trying to rank for right now, or if it makes more sense to switch to another keyword because it's more likely that you are going to rank for this one. And the next agent is responsible for the analysis of the article. And as you can see, it does a title analysis, an analysis of the meta description, checks the headings, content summary, and also the first and last 100 words, because the first 100 words are quite important to hook the reader. And usually they have in the last part of your article or landing page, whatever you are optimizing, and call to action. So it will check if it's possible to optimize these parts of your article as well. And all the data that is important for the content optimization is saved in this merge node. And it contains data like the SERP analysis, FAQs and related searches, keyword analysis, content summary, and so forth. So all the data that has been analyzed before by these agents. And then in the content optimization, we will first do the page speed analysis check, which is quite easy because it just gets the input data from the output from the page speed API and inspection API. And then we have also a dedicated agent which will create title and meta descriptions, and then followed by, in my opinion, the most important agent, which is the content optimization. And this is also the part where you will find information on in which chapter it's recommended to replace the current sentences by using one of these alternatives. And once these agents are done, of all the data that will be important for the report, so as an example, we have here the keys of the index and page speed analysis, article analysis, and so forth. We will need the output of the formatter. So this one has the instructions to create an HTML report. And also the reason why this works so well is because the input is in a structured way where the key represents the heading. And as you can see here, we have the index and page speed analysis. And that is also the reason why we have here the heading, index, and page speed analysis, which makes this report generation in the end more reliable. And the last part, so here the report is already ready to use, but it's not stored somewhere. So that is the reason why we first convert the data to a base64 string, convert it to an HTML file, and finally save the report in Google Drive. So that's it related to the workflow. So just to give you a quick summary of it, we will get data which is defined in a Google spreadsheet, like the BigQuery table names, article metadata, and we will also create a new Google spreadsheet which will be used to store the data analysis. Then we perform an analysis of the top results in Google, including an analysis of every competitor. We do some technical checks, which play a crucial role if you want to know if the article can rank at all, followed by the performance analysis, which will check the performance based on a given period, as well as the article analysis, so that the AI agents know exactly what they have to improve. And once the required input data is ready for the SEO team, we will merge it. And then every agent has its own task to make the output more reliable and also be able to use such a cheap model as GPT-4 Omni Mini. Because if you would combine a few of these agents, the output will be definitely not as good as it is right now, because it happens regularly that the large language model will forget a few things and also not do an in-depth analysis as you would do it if it just has one specific task. Then we do the formatting because we want to be able to check the report in Google Docs, or at least in a structured way, where we don't have to guess the formatting. And once everything worked, we will save the report in Google Drive. And now comes another important part, which is the cost of running this workflow. So as you can see, we have things like Google Sheets, BigQuery, APIs like Page Speed Insights, and also the inspection endpoint, Crawl for AI, an API to analyze the SERP results, as well as OpenAI to be able to use the GPT-4 models. And the good thing is using Google Spreadsheet is free up to a certain limit, as well as the inspection endpoint and page speed check. These endpoints are also free to use with quotas. The performance analysis depends on the data that you are querying. So BigQuery offers every month 1 terabyte for free. And for crawling articles, so for the article which you want to optimize, as well as for crawling the content of the competitors, we are using Crawl for AI, which is open source, so you can use it for free. But of course, you need to keep in mind that you have to pay for the compute power. So this part depends on your hosting. And then, as I mentioned, for analyzing the SERP results, I am using Zerpa, and it's quite cheap. So first of all, you get, I think, 2,500 free queries if you sign up, which means you can optimize 1,250 articles, because every optimization does 2 queries, one for mobile, one for desktop. And in case the free limit is not enough, or you have already used it, then you can start with the starter package, which will give you 50,000 queries, so you can optimize 25,000 articles with $50. And another thing which I really like is you don't have to use it in a single month. You have like 6 months to use these queries. And now the final part, which is the cost for using the GPT models by OpenAI. So we are using it here to analyze the content, as well as for all the agents that are used here. And since the GPT-4 Omni-Mini model is quite cheap, the cost of optimizing one article is around 1 or 2 cents. So as an example, I have optimized today 4 articles, and so far it cost me just a few cents. So that's it for this video. In case you're interested, you will find all my products, as well as my free templates on my website Marvelmatic or my GitHub repository, and I will also put the link into the description. And in case you're interested in workflows like this, then feel free to sign up for my newsletter, where I regularly give you some tips on how to improve your organic traffic, as well as free N8n workflows. And that's it for the video. In case you do have any questions, feel free to write them in the comments, and we will hear each other in the next video.